trying to scoot in there alone. It pinballs to the crease.
Let's get it.
Oh my God! Here we go.
You're listening to the Street Bullies podcast with your hosts, Derek.
How you gonna get it, Bobby?
John. Matt Casey.
Unnecessary, but totally necessary.
And Cody.
What's not to love?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Street Bullies. My name is Derek.
Nah, I'm John. What's going on, everybody?
And we are joined by Matt Casey.
Hey, good to see you.
And the piece of crap himself, Hoagie.
Everybody's favorite moron.
Everybody's favorite 40-year-old racist.
I'm only a 29-year-old racist, I will have you know.
I'm not going to lie, though. There was that one piece of criticism. I was like, he's boring. I was like, all right.
Yeah, got me there.
That's all right.
You won't get any rebuttal from me. But that will likely be the running joke of the show here, at least this week. But regardless, another typical week of Flyers off-season hockey, boys.
Mm-hmm.
Fun stuff. Fun stuff.
Little bit of news here and there, enough to keep us interested. Let's keep me interested. You know?
Danny and Keith are like, well, we need to make sure the Pod Street Bullies have something to talk about this week.
Right. We are constantly in touch with both of them. You know, Danny B, I've essentially got on speed dial. John's got Keith on speed dial. Casey's got his sources. Hoagie just, he's the coattails.
They're like we cannot have them go through the entire roster again like we did last year and tell them which players are gonna thrive or not. And we were pretty spot on most of those.
I think we were. I think unanimously, like the ones we got unanimously that all of us agreed on, pretty dead on.
Yeah.
Not to pump our own tires here.
Speaking of which,
speaking of pumping his tires on his bike so he can get the hell out of town, Tony DeAngelo has been bought out by the Philadelphia Flyers. 1 point, I think Hoagie said it was 1.67 for 2 years.
For 2 years we have to pay.
Ooh, quite the difference from the 5 we were going to pay him for the next 2 years. So
the 2.5 on retention.
Right, yeah, and the 2.5 we would have had to retain if we had traded him to, I guess it was Carolina, was the rumored destination. Although I would have loved that Rizzo kid just for the name alone.
Rizzo.
Are you getting DeAngelo for a Rizzo? I mean, it seems fair enough.
Hey.
Tortorella's going, like no more of those guys.
No. But initial thoughts on that move, John. What do you got?
Well, I mean, thank you, Noah Cates, for electing to go to arbitration because that's what gave us the second buyout window. So thank you, Noah. But when you first read the news, it's like, I thought we were going to trade him. Like buyout always kind of has that like negative connotation to it, where it's like you're going to be paying this person for a long time. But it turns out the Flyers kind of win in this, right? They're going to be paying him less money. It's less of a cap hit. They don't have to. It doesn't waste another retention spot. So it gives them a lot of flexibility this season. Like you can see them retaining salary on somebody that they will elect to trade or maybe be a third-party deal, like the Coyotes always wind up doing. But it gives the Flyers flexibility going into this season. They're in a good spot. The thing to me is it's like it kind of goes to show you where this organization right now is valuing culture over wins, where they clearly have said that Tony DeAngelo is not good for our culture. We got Matt Casey killing flies. He's got for those of you now,
mute out of courtesy. Like
I'm still seeing you.
Would have been great sound effects. I'll add that. God, son of a bitch.
So yeah, I mean, I just think like if you kept Tony DeAngelo on this roster, you could be getting more wins. But I think that the place that the Flyers are in right now, they're like, well, he's bad for our culture. He does not replicate what we want moving forward. So they're clearly valuing that more than some standings points.
Before we go any further, I want to touch on something you said early on there in your long-winded statement, which one of many, I'm sure, tonight.
Yeah, what else is new?
Valid
Listen,
point, Hoagie.
boring
Point for Hoagie. All right, we're tied one apiece. The arbitration for Noah Cates. Do you think that was strategic?
I don't know enough about arbitration to.
Well, it opened up
do you
basically face value. It opened up the window for them to be able to buy out Tony DeAngelo.
No, yes, but I don't know if like.
You don't think this was big brain Danny B?
Did the Flyers take Noah Cates to arbitration?
Well,
or
no,
did
Noah Cates
No.
took them to arbitration. But do you think that's something like behind the scenes where they're like, listen, if you take us to arbitration, it'll give us enough time to buy out
Casey's
Tony D.
over
And
it.
Noah Cates is like, I don't like that guy. So, yeah, I'll go to arbitration.
0%. 0%.
0%?
There is there's a line that agents can't cross, regardless of if it's in sports or
Or if the guy is suspected allegedly to be a POS.
right. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think that doesn't help the agent in any way, shape, or form. Leverage their, they can't be pawns to the overall team.
Right.
And so, it's crossed my mind. It crossed my mind.
Right. And that's just, it's all skepticism. Like I figured it would be interesting to dive down that rabbit hole, but short one. Other thing John pointed out, culture versus wins. And I like that argument just based off the fact that in my mind, building a good culture is going to end up resulting in more wins down the road. So you're not looking for that immediate fix.
Right.
You're looking to build the right culture and then the wins will come.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. Matt Casey.
Shoeless Joe is kind of not a culture guy. What a sellout, dude.
Yeah, well, neither here nor there. We're talking hockey now. Matt Casey, your initial thoughts on this?
We can all see it coming. This is like the least surprising story of the summer. Well, besides maybe Provorov and Hayes,
Or
but
Kevin Hayes being traded. Yeah.
Right. The narrative that Tony D would not be on this team come opening night is not a shock to anybody. I do think what is interesting is just the way they went through it. I think they tried their best to probably do the trade. When the trade wasn't there, they came up with a way that was a little bit more digestible for the franchise and for the cap hit. And it sucks for Tony. You like to have a hometown guy want to play here and all that sort of stuff. It's just it did not work out. And I just don't think that the character was there. I don't think the talent outweighed the character. And the other thing is it's kind of Danny doing his best Senator Palpatine saying, your failure is complete, Chuck Fletcher. Like every move you have made has failed. And that's probably unfair, but every move you made last offseason has failed.
Aside from the Sanheim deal that we couldn't offload, but
right, which we tried our darndest. But so yeah, I mean, not surprising. Makes me nervous about the larger blue line things in general, but we'll get to that later.
Absolutely. All right, Hoagie.
I'm just glad we don't have 16 million tied up for our top three blue men. Blue men group. Blue defensemen. Our blue line right now. Words are hard. I'm boring. I'm a moron. I mean,
among other things.
Yes, misogynist. No, okay. Anyway,
to Casey's point, I am kind of surprised that he is gone because he was just so excited. I want to keep growing the culture with the exit interviews, but I mean the reading was on, or the writing was on the paper. It's time to go.
It's the wall, buddy.
Whatever. I'm all over the place.
Yeah, you are.
Writing on the wall for you. Jesus.
Listen,
The events of this weekend got you a little frazzled there.
I've got to say the right things. These people were mean.
And it was the Monday of all Mondays. It's just
I can feel you there.
You know what's really crazy? He's 27 years old and he's already been bought out twice.
Dude, that takes talent.
Right.
Yeah. Seriously.
I mean,
Forever etched in the annals of history.
I mean, never have I seen a guy more destined to play in Arizona than Tony DeAngelo.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough.
Last chance you right there.
It's
Could see it.
And no one's interested in him right now, right? Like no one's.
Well, I mean, Carolina was.
Yeah, but they're going hard for Carlson now.
Oh, so is Pittsburgh, apparently. So what does this say about cap circumvention, which was the original concern as to why this deal wasn't done, if Carolina now signs him to a deal that was much less than $5 million? Is that not cap circumvention? I feel like that's kind of shady.
You know what? I don't know.
But who cares?
The Flyers
It depends on the team, apparently. Yeah.
I guess
the Flyers
so.
made out in this situation. It's a better circumstance for the Flyers to be in.
It helps us out.
Right. Oh, yeah. You're freeing up 3.4 as opposed to 2.5, like Hoagie had said. So,
and what is we get a roster, we get a spot as well, too, right?
And we don't have to fill up a retention spot.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because we've already got one tied up in Provy. You can only have 3. Two or three?
Two. Because we have one with Kevin Hayes.
2 spots.
One with Kevin Hayes.
We didn't retain on Provy.
That's right. We did not.
LA retained on Provy.
Okay, so then he would have been our second. We wouldn't have been able to retain. So maybe they've got bigger plans in place for someone that they are going to retain money on, but that speculation will come another day.
It's mainly the deadline, Casey, where it's like now they have the flexibility to get more in return because they can still retain somebody.
Got it. Okay.
So if something big was happening draft day with Sanheim and it was going to wait until the deadline, highly doubtful, but it's there.
No.
I'm just saying. I said highly doubtful. I said highly doubtful.
Cal Peterson.
How often do we see trades that, like, okay, the framework and the groundwork have been laid for it at the deadline and happen in the offseason?
Just signed an 8-year deal with the now inactive.
We were going to trade him anyway.
I'm not doing this. I'm not doing it.
You don't want to get into it tonight? I'm ready to.
The only time I've ever seen it happen is with the Ryan Ellis trade. That was framework.
Happy anniversary, baby.
There you go. Yeah,
2
isn't
years
today
to the day.
2 years?
Yep.
Oh, God, it feels like so much longer.
It's like a lifetime.
I hate that. I hate it so much.
I had that little like desktop calendar thing, and I flipped the page to today. And I was like, I saw Nolan Patrick, and I was like, oh, no, it's that trade.
Is this like the Flyers fans, like, happy Bobby Bonilla day?
Just about.
Like, we have to pay him $6.75.
My favorite.
Happy Bobby Bonilla day. He's making $1 million for another 20 years.
My favorite is if you go to Cap Friendly, it goes Ryan Ellis, LTIR candidate. Not
candidate.
He is LTIR. Like
if he was alive, he'd be a
paperwork's been submitted but has not been approved yet.
Right.
So Tony D's out the window. No more worrying about him aside from when his 1.6 comes off the books in 2 years. What does this make our blue line look like right now? Because that sums it up. That's half a second there. Let's move on to the next point. Hoagie, would you like to start there? Seems like you got some thoughts.
No, I really don't know where to start, honestly.
That's like the remainder of the episode. So, Hoagie, we mute you for the rest of the time?
Yeah,
or
go
what?
ahead. No,
all
you
right.
guys will say something interesting.
Let's see. Hold on.
See ya.
All right.
So,
there we go.
Blue line. Is he gone? No, he's still
too.
there. Okay.
Oh,
interesting.
Admin.
Yeah,
I don't like this. We got to strip him of his privileges.
Producer
All right.
rights, baby.
Producer rights. Get out of here. So,
Jesus, what the hell is happening?
I don't know. But we've got Sanheim, Ristolainen, Walker, Cam York, Mark Stahl, Nick Seeler, Yegor Zamula, currently, apparently, according to Cap Friendly, on the NHL roster. It does not include Ryan Ellis.
Put there.
Well, I'm saying what's on the NHL roster right now. Emil Andre is technically on the AHL roster with Will Smolek, Adam Yinning, Ronnie Addard, Helga Grans, Ethan Sampson, Mason Millman, Louis Belpedio, and Victor Mete.
Except the reason that we need to bring up Emil Andre is because as of right now, if he doesn't make the NHL team, he has to go back to the
SHL.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, what's the name of the new guy we got? Walker? Is that his name?
Sean Walker.
Sean Walker.
Yeah.
Sean Walker? It's not Matt Walker.
Matt Walker was a
Texas Rangers.
Matt Walker, Texas Rangers. Matt Walker was a Flyer. Like, I'm fairly certain there was a Flyer.
His name's Sean Walker.
A long time ago. Sean Walker.
Look at that.
There you go.
He is not the guy I looked up earlier.
Oh.
I'd hate to know who you did look up. But anyways, Emil Andre, I think it's safe to say he's going back to the SHL.
I don't.
You don't?
I don't think it's safe to say it. Not the way if you've listened to anything that Danny Briere or what's his name? What's the other guy? I see the dead
Keith
flag.
Jones?
Casey, good job. No, not Keith Jones. The
Tortorella?
draft dude. No,
Oh, Brent Flair.
Brent Flair. Thank you. If you listen to anything they say, it sounds like they're pretty high on him. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he finds his way on the NHL roster.
We were all high on Nolan Patrick too. Woo. But that happened.
I mean,
Anyways.
that's a different story.
Right.
No, I get where you're coming from. I'm not saying it as a knock to the guy. Like I hope nothing but success for him. I don't see it in the cards this year. I think that they're going to want him maybe take another year over there, come back over, and maybe next year they've got a spot for him. Boom. Awesome. Fantastic.
I personally don't think they want him anywhere near the SHL anymore. I think they want him in North America.
Okay.
They want to develop his game.
Yeah, I think they're either going to try to negotiate with the SHL to find a way to get him so he can play in North America regardless, or they're going to just like try their hardest to be like, yeah, he's on the NHL roster. I really don't think at this point they want him going back to Europe.
What's his what kind of size is he rocking these days? Isn't the knock on him that he's
He's small,
not big enough to deal with the wear and tear of this yet?
He's 5'9", 181.
I'm seeing 5'11", 196.
Okay.
So he's
5'10",
small.
197.
Okay. He's not so 5'11", yeah, he's a bit shorter, but like 190, like it's not bad weight playing hockey.
Right.
Small. It's small for a D man though.
Sure. You could argue that.
I have a tough time for a guy who hasn't played in North American hockey for like an extended period of time. I just think I have like a tough time thinking that the transition is going to be as easy as it is especially for a defenseman.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's a different game, and I get everyone's rationale of wanting to see him. And I think, there's a little bit of like Gostisbehere type upside to his offensive game potentially. That kind of like silky smooth stuff. But I can't see this guy being a 60 game player in the NHL this year. I don't see it happening.
Who, Walker or Andre?
I'm talking Andre. Sorry.
Oh, Andre. Okay. Gotcha.
I think that the kind of like fire back on that though, Casey, is like if there was ever a time to see it, this would be the time. We're not here to win, and it's about giving the children, the kids, an opportunity. Give the children a chance.
Right.
Where like I totally see where you're coming from, and I'm kind of skeptic about his size as well, but it's like there's no risk right now in terms of like if he messes up and we lose games, like that might tell us something about the player, but at the end of the day, it's not of large consequence, big picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get your point, but I will say that with guys like Zamula coming up, who's trying to like nip at the heels, you want to put these guys in an environment that is, well, it might not be winning environment, quote unquote. It needs to be a stable enough environment that it's not going to stunt their growth. And
he's always going to be 5'9/11. Like he's probably not going to grow anymore.
Freaking bulk up, dude.
Listen, we've been saying about freaking Zamula too.
More.
Yeah. Get him on the Zamula. Like wake up at midnight and drink a milkshake plan. So I would I be upset if I saw him here? No. But I do think it's the kind of thing where this is where it gets dangerous, and I think we're going to see a Tortorella effect in this one way or the other. Like if the guy doesn't deserve it, is Tortorella going to keep him, or are they going to be like, And so I think that's sort of the quote unquote standard that we saw last year, where everybody thought York was going to come, but he went down. This is higher stakes poker than that.
Right.
And so is Tortorella going to stick to those guns if he's not up to it?
Right.
There's going to be growing pains, and that's what I think people are like. They're excited about him, and they rightfully so. I'm excited too. I want to see him do well. However, if there is that agreement in place that if he's not in the NHL, he plays back in the SHL, think about the leash that he's going to be on with Tortorella, given his past. One mess up, Tortorella could be like, no, get the guy out of my lineup, get him back down with the Phantoms. What's going to happen then? Is that agreement going to strike in and you have to send him to the SHL? And he's gone for the rest of the year. Like you can't just jettison him between leagues.
Is that how that works? Like, even if he makes the NHL and we don't want him here, we can't send him to the AHL. He has to go straight back.
Clue.
I don't
I
know.
would think
I was hoping John would know, but I wasn't sure.
kind of like juniors with kids under 19 or something like that. Like if they play X amount of games, you have to send them back down or keep them in the NHL. You can't put them in the AHL.
Yeah, I mean, because to me, Hoagie, I feel like then this isn't even a conversation because it would just be a no-brainer. Okay, give him his 6 games in the NHL as a tryout. If it doesn't work, you send him down.
Right.
Yeah. To me,
he's already had the AHL experience. He played 10 games at the end of the regular season for the Phantom. So, I mean.
Right.
Yeah, it is just 10 games, though. I mean, that's.
Yeah, but I mean, those 10 games where the Phantoms were really pushing for a playoff spot. And
sure.
I think he helped. Yeah.
I also think, too, that, like, if there wasn't this weird thing going on with the SHL, this agreement, which is just stupid in my mind, like, we're not even having this conversation. Emile Andre is starting in the AHL next.
Yeah.
I mean, this
right.
season, you know?
Right. Absolutely.
But I have a feeling that the Flyers just want him in North America, which, like, yes, at the end of the day, John Tortorella has final say, and we know he's not just going to give the guy a spot, but, like, it's something that's being talked about. It has to be something that's being talked about amongst the organization.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know,
there's other guys that are more easily moved up and down that you can say, okay, like, we don't need to really worry about it. We can move them up, move them down.
Right.
Andre is the guy that it's like, okay, he's got to stick either here or he's out of the system until next year.
Right.
Yep. So there's a little more pressure, I guess is the best way to put it with that one.
Yeah.
You know, I also think that we do have the flexibility that if he is good enough to stay up, or if he does need to sit out for 2 games, it's not the end of the world. Like, you know, as long as he earns a spot, it's fine. Like, you know, we said it last week. If Stahl is sitting in the press box to the tune of 1.1 million, like, I don't care.
Right.
You know, that's fine as long as somebody's earning a spot. Like, you know, I look at Stahl and even Sealer, even though Sealer I think had a heck of a year last year. Like, if Sealer's in the press box because somebody's really pushing for a playing spot, like, I'm not going to be overly concerned about it.
And I also think we have to also add Samula to that because, like, John Tortorella again is not going to give this guy a starting position just because he's not waiver exempt anymore. Like, when we think about playing the kids, he makes sense as someone to be in the top 6 mold, but I wouldn't be shocked if he's the 7th defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, he was an undrafted free agent that the, you know, draft wizard himself, Ron Hextall, happened to grab. Nobody in this current administration has any sort of, like, value to that anymore. So, like, to me, I wouldn't be shocked if, like, he's penciled in as the 7th defenseman because John Tortorella didn't seem very high on him last year.
Yeah.
Right. Not a bad thing. You keep him around, he plugs in and plays, and if he plays well, he might earn himself a little bit of an extension. But, like, I don't think Samula is destined to be a Flyer for much longer, to be honest.
You don't think so?
I mean, he was getting high praise towards the end of the season. He was making some pretty high IQ plays at the blue line in the offensive zone, and even on breakouts, he was playing very well. So, I mean, I'm sure that doesn't change Tortorella's mindset right off the bat, but if he's pushing for a spot, why not?
I hope he gets one.
Yeah, right.
I'd much rather have him, you know, have one than Sealer or Stahl. There's no future to that,
right?
You know?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'd be happy.
Sealer shirt.
Right, I'd be happy with Sealer as a 7D, but at the same rate with the way he's playing, I'm cool with him being a 6. You know, playing on that bottom pairing. But, like, you know, someone takes that spot, I'm also not going to be upset about it.
The funny thing is like when you try to put the pairings together, which I actually tried to do this evening, it's
it's all over the place.
I mean, like, to me, the top pair has 2 options. They both include Cam York, and then it's York and Ristolainen, which is the one that I would prefer, or it's York and Sanheim. Like, and you have 2 left-handed defensemen with Sanheim playing on his offhand. Is that the term, offhand?
Yes,
I think that is. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a questionable second pair to begin with, and that's your first pair. So, Yeah, I mean, your first pair for me is York and Ristolainen. I don't know, Casey. It seems like you agree with me.
Yeah, I've been preaching this for a year or so now. I just like the complementing skill sets that the two of them have, and it's not to say that Risto doesn't have some offensive upside, but like he's not an offensive defenseman. We all know that. Like the guy can nail a shot and can plop in front of the net during the power play, but that is not an offensive defenseman. And I think it just allows York to sort of open up. It allows York to be on his natural side on the left. I just I like the idea of the big ugly animal and then like cute little York, like running around like a cocker spaniel. And so I like that as number one. The second one I had Perrin, and again, this is all you could mix and match this. I had Sanheim and Sealer together. Which again, I don't love, but I look at the complementing skill sets. And I think if we want Sanheim to be something like we're stuck with this guy, like let's all just like face the music. We're stuck with him. Let's stop rooting for him to fail. But I think that, with Sealer and the way that he plays, it's consistent and hopefully it stays that way. And he takes the body and he's defensively responsible. That allows Sanheim a little bit more freedom to make some more offensive plays, but still gives him defensively sound sort of responsibilities. So that's my top two. And then the third pair, I'm just all over the place.
You just
sort of like,
you just taking this. You're not giving anybody else a shot
he
about
was
the
just
pairs,
rolling
right?
with
You're
it.
going through all.
All right, I will. Until next time, guys. My third pairing will remain a mystery. I could. Sorry, Hoagie. I thought you were still on mute. Go ahead.
I don't know. My second pairing, I kind of like Casey's second pairing with Sealer and Sanheim, but I'm afraid of Sealer kind of just flying off the cap a couple of times with fighting and just taking stupid penalties, and that kind of leaves Sanheim out to dry. So I mean, I feel like he's got to really tone it down, but I could definitely see Mark Stahl just be like, all right, I'm gonna be in the middle pair with Sanheim here.
But what about Walker though? Walker's a right-handed D. I mean,
somebody talk me through like what's his game? Like,
yeah, I have no idea. Does anybody know?
Sean Walker, Texas Ranger? Like, who the hell is this guy?
I mean, all I know is some people have mentioned that he could be like a borderline second pair guy, like a number four defenseman, and that's why for me I put him on my second pair because like just right shot, left shot kind of makes sense. It seems like he's somewhat defensively responsible, and if there's ever a guy where they want to make sure that like his value is shown. He's someone who makes sense because he is on an expiring contract. And if you can flip him at the deal, if he's having a good enough year on the second pair, like to me, it just makes sense.
Right.
But you could insert a bunch of names here.
All right, before any more of you guys go on with this bullshit here, I need to reiterate something here.
Oh boy.
2 seasons ago, I think it's 2 seasons ago, best pairing that the Flyers had. Who can name it?
All right, what year are we talking? Are we talking bubble year?
No, we're talking the year.
Sanheim and Ristolainen.
There you go. That is my top pair. I'm not saying I like it. I'm not here to tell you this is what I want. This is what I think is going to happen because I still think there's some left in the can for these guys. I still think they can be a good pair together. There's just some things they do need to work through. And personally, I don't know if York is ready for top pairing minutes. Like, yes, he's going to be a number 2. He's not going to be the number 1. However, I think you put him in more of a sheltered role, pair him with somebody like Mark Stahl on the second pair, which, again, not a fan of, just saying what I think is going to happen. Someone a bit more defensively responsible, someone older, someone that, I mean, who was it? We were looking to put, I think, Yandel with York or somebody. It was another older Braun.
No, it was definitely Yandel.
No, it wasn't Yandel because they play similar styles.
Way.
Yeah. We were looking at Braun and York for that same reason. Somebody who's defensively sound, plays basically a different type of defense, but also the veteran that can help make up for some of the potential deficiencies. You put those guys together on the second pairing. Stahl is going to end up being replaced on that second pairing by somebody eventually. You know it. It'll probably be Walker, but I've got Walker and Sealer as my third pair. Again, just how I think it's going to look, not how I want it to look. But
So I totally get that train of thought, right? I mean, to me, Ristolainen and Sanheim makes sense. If you had a perfect partner, or not even a perfect partner, a decent enough partner for Cam York, I'd be like 100% keep those two together.
right.
My issue is you have, in my mind, 3 locks on defense to make the opening night roster, barring injury, and we all know how that could completely derail things.
Yeah.
Cam York being the younger, inexperienced one, I want to put him with one of the other locks because I want to try to have as much consistency as possible for him and his partner. I think that if you put him with somebody like Mark Stahl or Walker, or insert this player's name here, you're getting ready for that revolving door, because we've already kind of stated that like Mark Stahl might not play every night. We don't really know who Sean/Matt Walker is. Like, we don't know. We don't know what Nick Seeler can handle that role. So for my younger player, it's like I want to have that consistent partner. And the only way you're going to do that is if you put him with Ristolainen or Sanheim. And I think that like this is an opportunity to kind of like see if you can get top pair minutes out of Cam York. Like, again, there's nothing to lose here.
Yeah.
Put him with somebody where it's like, okay, let's see what we can do here. And Ristolainen, to me, just like Casey said, kind of complements that.
But do you worry about rushing him? Because, I mean, obviously they're two completely different defensemen here, but like Provorov right off the bat was given the load. He was just like, here's your position. You're our number one guy. You're going to shoulder the load until your back breaks. And
I don't think so, because I don't think that they're going to I think the load management is going to be different. Like, I don't think that it's going to be a minute heavy first pair. I think you're looking at the two, the first and second pair having similar amounts of minutes, not including power play time.
Right.
Sure. Because you're going to assume that York is probably going to quarterback your power play 1, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Do you think they're going to give Sanheim power play 2?
I do.
Yeah.
I think him and Ristolainen will be 2 defensemen on power play 2.
Who else could it be? Like with power play 2.
Give it to Sealer.
5 forwards.
I mean,
if Andre somehow made the team, I mean, I wouldn't do it, but like to me, that's the other offensive defenseman.
And then we also, we keep on hearing this amazing shot that Ronnie Attard has. Like, are we even giving this guy a sniff at this point, or is Ronnie Attard a perpetual AHL?
Did anybody put him in like your top 6 defensemen? No.
I think he should get a shot. He could be
Torts like him too.
I'm sure he does.
Sure.
It's one of his favorite prospects.
By the end of the year, I think we'll see him. Maybe not, every single night, but I think he'll get some playing time this year for sure.
But he sent down Cam York. Like, Ronnie Attard is not going to be as ready as Cam York appeared to be. You know, like, to me, the consensus is going to be start him in the AHL.
Yeah, and rightfully so. He'll get more minutes there. He'll get the opportunity to play on the power play, probably kill some penalties, see what he's worth on the PK. And I mean, as far as PK goes, I mean, Christ, you could put anybody in this group of 6 on penalty kill at this point. Who cares?
Put them all out there.
The one thing that kind of intrigued me as I was messing around with these is like just the hypothetical Andre does enough to make the NHL roster.
I really like this guy.
I just have to play with the name every once in a while because it is a possibility. If he made the roster, I almost want to go Sanheim and York and put Ristolainen with Andre on the second pair.
Sort of a similar dynamic there. Bigger guy with a smaller guy.
An offensively savvy defenseman with more of like your stay-at-home physical defenseman. Like, again, this is the offseason. We're just going with speculation, but it was the only way where I was like, okay, if Emil Andre made the team, then I could see putting Sanheim with York so Risto could play with Andre.
The only person I see Andre playing with, at least off the bat, is Stahl.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the other one.
That is the safest bet that you could possibly make. Now, look, if he plays his way out of that, awesome. Like, good for him. But like, I don't think you could throw him with Risto as much as he improved last year. Like, who knows? Like that thing could twitch in his mind, and he could become like
Sure.
player that we saw year one.
So Casey, was your third pairing Stahl and Zamula?
Yeah. That's why I have penciled in. But like, I also like, so I had York, Ristos, Sanheim, Sealer, Stahl, Zamula, but I could somebody could convince me that Sean Walker belongs somewhere in that lineup, within those bottom three, quote unquote, and I wouldn't argue that much. I just don't know enough about the guy's game to really be like, oh, he really complements this,
Yeah. I just think with him being an NHL player, somebody who they're gonna want to put him on the top six, because they're gonna want to demonstrate value or display value with him.
Could you see a world in which York and Walker are paired together?
I don't know enough about him.
Yeah,
I'd be intrigued.
No, but
I definitely would be intrigued. I'm really intrigued by any pairing that has Cam York in it, just because to see who they're going to pair him with.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. You look at, I hate to go back to this, and it's an anomaly, but who would have ever thought that Matt Carl would have been the Chris Pronger whisperer? Now, whoever thought that Braden Coburn and Kimo Timonen would have matched together, or
Desjardins and Tarian.
Yeah, Desjardins and Bundy there. It just sometimes it's all about the chemistry. And so Walker and York could be great. Myers and Sanheim back in the day?
Unfortunately.
Phil Myers.
They were great back in the day, for about
15 games.
Pro Robin Ghost.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know. And I think that's the exciting part, but you gotta hope that at least two of those pairs click quickly. Otherwise,
you're tinkering with that lineup every single night.
Right. What we don't have now, and not to bring it back to the original point, what we don't have is the Tony DeAngelo bullshit factor. And everything that I've heard is he was not supportive on the bench. His attitude sucked and all that sort of stuff. And so it was easy to bench him, but on the same time, he's skilled enough that you need to have that skill on there. That's now out of this. And so you don't have this, you have people wanting to make the squad, wanting to help each other, get better theoretically. And so I think that allows at least a little bit of breathing room in there. And if Stahl or Zamula or Walker or whoever end up in the press box for a couple games, it is what it is,
Yeah,
so be it.
The issue is that you have all these interchangeable parts, but none of them really have a future with the organization.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where it's your Sealers, your Stalls, your Walkers, these are guys you're going to be flipping around and stuff, but it's it's not someone where you're going to, we're developing him to be a part of the long-term plan. And that's the part that I'm
and that should be the priority. There's one guy on that blue line that you're looking to develop right now, and that's Cam York. That should be priority number one.
And Zamula potentially.
Potentially, sure.
Anybody that has the potential to make the roster. Yep.
Sure.
Top priority, Cam York.
Absolutely.
So you need to be putting him in a position to succeed. And if you're not doing that right off the bat, you need to figure out how you're going to do that.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. But I'm with you. I think you have York at the junior level classes, but then you have Zamula, Andre, Ronnie Adder, they're coming in, they're incoming freshmen basically, and so you need to at least get one of those guys better acclimated into the system, whether or not they stay up the whole time. And I know that's different for Andre and all that sort of stuff, but you got to get one of those guys teed up, because a year from now we need one of them to be NHL ready.
That's 100%.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, and the thing is, I'm sorry, Derek, I've been talking a lot. You go ahead.
I'm used to it. You're good. Go ahead.
Well, I just think with Zamula, if he's somebody where it's all of a sudden he becomes your seventh defenseman, the writing's on the wall or on the paper, as the boring one says.
You're welcome.
Where it's this is it to me. This is his shot. He's been with the organization for quite some time. At least it feels like it at this point. He hasn't been able to make a dent in the lineup, where it's if he's someone who this year cannot become a solid every night defenseman, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. And I'm not going to read too much into the opening night lineup versus where we are in December.
Sure.
I look at December 1st is okay. The rust is off. The personalities are there. that's the roster that I'm interested in seeing. You know, it might be completely flipped from what we see on October 15th or whatever.
Right.
Right. Yeah, it is going to look completely different. But the one missing cog right now that still remains unsigned is Morgan Frost. This is a guy that I'm not going to lie, I anticipated he was going to be the first person to sign. But here we are. Frost Watch 2023 continues, just like last week. So we've gotten to the point now, we've got the salary off the books from DeAngelo. And as of right now, our cap space stands at just under $3 million. With LTIR, when that kicks in, you're looking at just over $9 million, almost $9.25 million. More than enough to sign Morgan Frost at the 9 and at the 2.9. Honestly, in my opinion, I think that's more than enough too. It should be. Keywords should be. Hoagie, can you see a world in which Morgan Frost is holding out for more than that 2.9?
Probably. Definitely.
Yeah. Is it warranted?
No.
Something, man.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's the question is, could you see it?
Yeah.
Could you see a world in which? So, John, shut up. Let Hoagie talk.
I'm trying to let him talk. All he says is 3 words. Yeah.
Let the man
Sure,
finish
right.
thought.
That was his thought.
John, I hate you so much. I mean, he
So
was.
bring that level of passion
I
into
am.
the Frost thing.
Shut the hell up.
Pretend he's someone commenting on your last tweet.
Yeah, right. I don't even comment on them. I mean, he was the best Flyers forward from what was it, January 1st to the end of the season. He was killing it, and I feel like that prove it deal. He's like, I just proved myself. I'm going to continue that, and I want some more. Pay me like you want to pay me, or pay me how I want to be paid. That's where I see it playing in.
Okay. What about you, Casey?
Let's unpack that for a minute.
I hate you all.
Oh yeah, I love you.
If it wasn't you, man, it was me. They were going to make fun of me, so I'm glad you're here.
Yeah,
I think we're looking at 2 years, 1.6 million a year.
So the York deal.
Yeah, I think is that exactly what York got?
Is York
I just
1.6
feel like
or 1.9?
I feel like you know
What,
if it's 1.6
2 years,
1.6 to 2, I think I'm okay with it. I don't want to see another 1 year deal out of this. Like that was last year. You got to be able to grow sort of the relationship, and it just can't be a continuous
Kicking the can down the road.
thing. You got to prove it. You know what? He did prove it to an extent. He didn't prove himself to get a 4-year contract.
right?
He proved himself to get a 2-year contract and more than double his salary. So, like, I that's the way that I look at it: is 1.6 to 2 for 2 years.
I wonder if that's the tie-up, where like that's why there's been this hold where Morgan Frost might want another 1-year deal because he's like, if I can show more this season, I'll get even more of a pay bump. And the Flyers like, no more 1-year deals. Like, we need to lock you. And it would make a lot of sense if like that's what the holdup is.
Sure.
Plus, the cap's going up,
Right.
theoretically, and so like,
There's money coming off the books.
Yep.
And Frost just seems like somebody who thinks highly of himself. Coming from someone else who thinks quite highly of themselves, I can point those
You
people
relate?
out. Yeah, I can relate.
He's got a read on him. I can see it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be like, the 1-year deal for sure.
Yeah. I think that shows more confidence than if he were to take that 2-year deal. If he's pushing for a 1-year deal, it's because he's confident, which, right or wrong, good, bad, I see it as a good thing, because if he can build on the end of this past season and replicate that over an 82-game season, full 82-game slate, absolutely. Cool.
But I can see why the Flyers wouldn't want to give him a 1-year deal.
Sure.
Right.
Because it's the consistency factor. You've seen it over the span of 40 games, maybe 30 games. Those last 30 games of the season, 35, whatever it was.
It was 45 games, 32 points.
32 points in 45 games. That's probably around a 70-point pace in 82 games, somewhere around there, let's say. I think that's maybe 60. I don't know. Regardless, that's not bad. That's pretty good considering the player. If he can replicate that again, and he's on a 1-year deal, then he's going to look for more money, maybe a little bit more term. However, if the Flyers could get that for 2 years, like a Noah Cates deal, like a Cam York deal, then your cap is going to go up as well. You're going to have to pay all these guys more than what they're currently making, and then you're going to have more money off the books as well. I think it's smarter for the Flyers to go 2 years, and I honestly think it's smarter for Frost too.
What's Owen Tippett making?
Not much.
Owen Tippett is 1.5.
1.5?
One more year.
1 more year, 1.5. I'd almost give him the Tippett deal. 2 years, 1.5 per. Be like,
I think that's fair.
He's your buddy, you know, same thing where it's like you're taking a little bit longer than we were expecting.
At this point, he's your competition.
Yeah, and he's playing better than you, and he's the same age. But we'll give you the Tippett deal. We'll give you 2 years, 1.5 each.
If Tippett has a season this upcoming season like he did last season, I can't wait to have this conversation. I can't wait to have that conversation.
Well, then hopefully Frost is the same thing, and then we're looking at giving him a significant pay bump. Like, I want these guys to get paid.
Yeah.
But Morgan Frost is not an over $2 million player right now.
Right.
No,
I'm sorry.
absolutely not. No. I want him to be, like you said, I want him to be a $10 million player. Don't we all? Christ. We spoke like that when he was drafted.
Right. I don't have to pay him. I don't care how much he makes. But he's
my
not
money.
He's not worth over $2 million right now. He's not even worth $2 million to me. It's under 2.
So the stats that I spit out earlier with the 45 games, 32 points, Jordan Hall tweeted it. He compared him to Alex DeBrincat from January 1st, and he did 46 games, 30 points in relation from January 1st to end of the season.
Interesting.
Do you think Frost is looking at it that way? Like, hey, I'm playing up to these type of standards.
Can you elaborate a little bit more? How does he compare him to DeBrincat?
From January 1st to the end of the season, Frost had 45 games, DeBrincat had 46.
There's a much larger body of work with DeBrincat.
Cherry picking stats.
I get where you're coming from, Hoagie, but there's a much larger body of work.
Looking at like, hey, I can produce at this type of pace and
that's
play
his
with the boys.
That's his one sticking point, and I think he should stick to it. However, I don't know how far that's going to get him in
negotiations. But Danny Briere and
negotiations.
company are definitely not going to be like, dude, you've been around for quite some time. Like,
I also don't know.
you need to put those numbers.
Danny
up.
Briere, if he was smart, would
comparables
look at
with
Morgan
DeBrincat.
Frost and say, "You're not Alex DeBrincat." That's what would happen. Danny Briere would look at him and be like, "You're not Alex DeBrincat. Now talk to me in real terms here."
Now stop wearing that 48 number, right?
Right. Get a New Jersey number. But no, I don't know what to expect here. I like John's idea of the Tippett deal. I think give him 2 years, 1.5. It's not going to hurt this team financially to give this guy $1.5 million a year. By the end of that contract, you can reassess, figure out where you stand, how he's doing, and maybe he's a $3 million, $4 million player by then. Fantastic. 50 points a year. Cool. I'm all right with that.
And also, you need to look at where you're going to be from a center depth standpoint at that point as well.
Because Gauthier could probably be up by then. Yeah, Michkov might be at the end of a 2-year contract.
But he's a winger.
He's not. But I mean, that could still factor into like what you're going to do if you've got all these wingers. Trade 1 or 2, get some center depth. Lawton might still be here as well. He'll be your third line probably.
We're going to be flush with third line centers if that's
It's tradition.
Cates will be here, and then you've got. I mean, we
got Couturier for another 5 years or 6 years, right?
He's going to be our third line center at some point, man.
Yeah,
making $8 million a year almost.
Can we talk about one more thing before we go? And this is going to be really quick, but
I hope so.
I really need the Hockey Canada thing to come to a conclusion. I need to find out what's going on with Carter Hart. And
what's dragging on with it? I haven't really kept up with it. Honestly.
I don't know. I mean, to what I've heard was that like the NHL has come to a conclusion or has finished up their investigation.
Their side of the investigation. Okay.
But they have to wait for the police also. But like this has been a long time. It's been what, like 2 years?
Here's the thing. It should have been released a long time ago. Because this is how many years?
Well, and I don't know, and I'm not going to even speak. Like, I don't know the intricacies of this, but it's like just strictly from a wanting to know what my sports team is going to look like.
What your starting goaltender is going to be.
And like, and to me, if he's a part of this, like, you're going to write him off for the rest. He's not coming back. This is it. This is done. that's over. I would
Canceled.
love to come some sort of resolution soon, because this could be earth shattering.
Yeah, and you can't operate under the assumption either way. You can't say,
Right.
okay, like until they come out, like we're good, because then you're shit out of luck. You got nobody to plug in and play for him, but you also can't operate under the assumption that he is guilty. And then you're like, oh, well, let me go spend $5 million on a starting goalie when we already have Cal Peterson making $5 million a year. So like you're pigeonholed either way.
Right.
And just, I mean, from that standpoint, yes, how it affects our hockey team, how it, as a human, like it should have been taken care of years.
Sure.
Whenever it started, it's been dragging on far too long, and there needs to be some sort of justice here.
Right.
Yeah. Anybody else have a take on that?
No, I mean,
Just
when do you think I've seen some more buzz about it coming
Every
out
time.
pretty soon,
Every
but-
time. Well, that's the thing. I keep hearing this week. I keep hearing something's going to be this week, or it's going to be coming soon, and it still hasn't freaking happened.
right?
So it's just
Sounds very bitter about it.
I am like, maybe
it's just been dragging on for far too long.
Right.
And if these scumbags, like I want them to get freaking suspended.
Right. Yeah.
And
Right.
I want justice for this woman. But like, I don't want my team to be employing a
Dragged through it.
scumbag if he so happens to be one. I'm not
Right.
saying he is, but it's like,
Right.
I just don't want an association
Right.
with a player like that. And I think that every NHL franchise, not just the Flyers, anybody who has someone who could possibly be a part of this,
They
wants
should
to-
feel that way.
wants to be able to figure this out so they can move on and go. we
Either
are
rinse
no
your
longer-
hands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Do you think that's part of it? Is that like they're trying to figure out what they're going to do with these players?
I don't think anybody
When it's
knows what
released.
the people who are doing the investigation. I don't think that's something they would leak to the specific teams before. I don't know. I don't know.
my
But like
understanding
the
is-
higher ups in like the NHL and what have you are still trying to figure out exactly what suspensions are going to be handed out or what bans or what have you.
Well, my guess is they have to wait to see what legal action is going to be taken.
Right.
Right.
Makes sense,
Before
yeah.
that, but also to my understanding, the NHL likes to just slide these in during like the times when not too many people are paying attention.
Right.
That's their own. They are their own governing body. So like
Right.
a suspension will correlate with any type of punishment by
Legal
law.
action. Yep.
However, like it could be, hey, you're suspended for one season, which I think, whatever. I'm not here to talk what's fair and what's not fair.
Right.
That's for the courts to decide. But
and honestly,
John's
we haven't
right.
really seen anything like that. In the
coming
NHL,
from a fan of a team that employed Greg Hardy, like I hated every second of it. I hate that piece of shit. I think
Right.
he's just the biggest scumbag there is. Like I don't want a guy like that on a team that I cheer for, because I don't want to cheer for him. I don't.
Right.
I mean, I will say if something comes out with Hart, I'll be like, wow,
That's devastating news.
Never saw that coming too, because you look at me, he's like, just
Right.
turn away.
Like my daughter has his jersey.
Right.
Right.
I
Yeah,
do.
my kid.
Where it's like this little girl rocking this guy, who like, again, innocent
Oh, yeah.
until proven guilty. I don't
Sure.
we know nothing about it, but like Hoagie, real quick, and then I think we should stop this conversation. But like, I don't think the NHL can hand out any suspensions until the police give their report.
finalized.
Because like they could come out and say we're suspending so and so for this amount of time, and it's like, well, the police haven't been able to
Right.
say who's been involved, and you're able to jump to conclusions.
Couldn't the NHL just wing it and say, nope, all you guys, until the report comes out,
could,
all you guys
technically.
can't play hockey?
That would,
I mean,
that would be a gavel.
I think they would get
Boom.
sued by if anyone is found
By
not
the
guilty,
agents.
they could get sued.
well, think
Right.
about how the math is adding up. You had X amount of players, and all of them essentially are saying they weren't guilty.
Mhm.
But then it's like, okay, so if you've got, let's say, just again, for simplicity's sake, 10 players that were involved, 18 players on the team, but 12 of them are saying they weren't involved, some of you are lying.
Right.
And until we
Right.
find out who's lying, none of you can do this. Like, I
think
I'd be a fan of that.
if we learned anything from the Duke lacrosse scandal is that you don't do that.
Yeah, I'm not entirely familiar with how that side of things played out, but I know what happened. Yeah.
Google it.
Yep.
Oh, I know.
Great documentary, by the way.
Yeah. All right.
Maybe that's some midnight watching here tonight. Yeah, let's put a bow on this before it gets any more serious than it needs to get.
Sorry for the curveball, boys.
Jesus
I don't know.
Christ.
It's all right.
Hoagie's
That's
got enough
It
issues.
wasn't Jesus Christ. It was just me. Every once
Jesus
in a while,
Christ
they get
could hit a
confused.
curveball. Hoagie,
I couldn't hit a fastball. Forget a curveball, man.
that depends on how fast it's going.
Yeah.
Hoagie, everyone's favorite racist. Let them know where they're going to find you.
Everybody's favorite moron, Pod Street Pose on the Twitter.
Oh,
app.
sorry, moron. Just so many other things were thrown at you.
Yeah.
Boring
Casey.
misogynist.
I think I'm still on Twitter. I think I'm gonna get off, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm done with it.
It's
Heading
not
over to
really
Threads?
working.
No,
It's
I just like
I don't blame you.
it's kind of done
Twitter
with
sucks
social
now.
media, man. I don't know.
If it's
Social
not
media's
how Twitter's
awful.
run, it's the
Yeah.
people on it that ruin it
Yeah.
for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like
People
me.
suck.
But
Well,
for now, you can find.
But
it
for
at
now,
Pod Street
hey,
Casey.
Pod 3 Casey, I'm really into Twitter.
He gave a couple likes to the thread.
All right, John.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. You
No.
can find. No, you want to go? You want to go? You okay?
You can call. Wait, you can call me. You can call me Pod Street Gove. And in case you can find me on Twitter there too.
There it is. Yep. If you're looking and you're watching or you're watching the replay, check out the stuff below. That's where you can find us. Otherwise, I'm on Twitter at Pod Street Bob, John, Pod Street Gove, like you said. All four of us on Twitter at Pod ST Bullies. And folks, until next week, if there's something to talk about, we'll see you then. Affiliate that you want to say it? You want to say it, Hoagie?
Our boys over at 5 Minute Major and High and Wide. There you go.
You got their Twitters?
I don't.
You don't.
5
Oh,
Minute
see?
Major Pod and Flyers HW. Whoo, got it. Ha.
There you go. Don't forget that @ symbol in front of both of them.
Yeah.
Folks, have a great week ahead. We'll talk to you the next time there's something newsworthy.
Bye now.
Bye now.